Hello and welcome to Bringing Education Home. I'm Herb.
And I'm Christina. And together we bring you experts and ideas to help grow healthy, happy, successful families that are both inside
and outside the box. If you like the show, be sure to follow Christina on Facebook.
And please leave us a like review on your favorite podcast platform.
Today we have the pleasure of again having Timothy Stuetz on our show. Timothy, the magical and mystical fairy tale wizard and poet, educating, enchanting, and empowering everyone, has empowered tens of thousands over 44 years to use their infinite soul power to conquer life's challenges. Achieving their full potential using original fairy tales, 249 to date, meditation, Reiki, Qigong, yoga, and everything in between. His Yoda Youth Instructor Certification Training empowers and certifies teens to teach multiple holistic health and complementary medical modalities globally by age 18. He's founded a similar, the Great I Am Energy Academy to certify adults. He's also an ordained minister and retired CPA. Timothy's a certified children's empowerment coach and educator who has developed programs for the state of California, several California counties, and private foundations. An ordained minister and a retired CPA, all his entertaining and educational family stories and courses are created with God's grace, along with the wisdom, creativity, and radiant love arising from 73 plus years of life experiences. Welcome, Timothy. It is a pleasure to have you back, and we are very glad you're here today.
I am honored and delighted to be back with the two of you, delightful, wonderful beings.
The last time we had you on the show, we were spending so much time on the fairy tales and the writing and all that inspiring things to help children learn through all those stories that we didn't get to that other part that you mentioned in your bio this time with the Qigong, the meditation, and all of those kinds of things. So we wanted to make sure we brought you back and helped families understand how these things that you were talking about today can also help their family grow and develop and become that happy, healthy, successful child and adult that we're all striving for. So welcome back. We are so glad you're here.
Thank you, Christina.
You are very, very welcome. So we know that the stories behind the fairy tales and the writing, what got you into the other part of it that also goes along with the Qigong, the meditation? There's got to be either a passion story or a oops, something's got to change story, right? That's usually how we all start.
It was more than an oops. It was actually laying in bed and crying for 3 days straight without getting out of bed, no food, no water, nothing. And my life had fallen apart as I knew it in my early 30s. And at the end of the 3 days, I just found myself out crying to God. I said, I yelled out, I've said, now I lay me down to sleep every night since my mother taught me. And if you exist, I need to find you. And shortly after that, I had the inspiration to get out of bed and get moving again, and stood in front of the mirror and saw that my body had gotten a little bit thinner after 3 days of no food and water. And actually, for the first time in my life, I actually felt Christ behind me saying, I will remake you in my image. And that was the start of a new life for me. I remembered that a business associate the prior year when I left Hawaii auditing her mortgage firm, her escrow firm, she made a point of whispering in my ear before I left, if you ever need a place to crash and get your head together, give me a call. And it's like she knew what was coming a year ahead of time. So I called her up and I was on a plane to Hawaii within a couple of weeks. And she gave me a book called Past Lives, Future Loves by Dick Sutphen. Never heard of past lives or any of that stuff. It was not in my wheelhouse. And she said, here, read this tomorrow when I go to work. So I sat out in the backyard with her pit bull and started reading this and just started bawling. It's like paragraph after paragraph just triggered things that my daughter had been trying to teach me since even before she was born. Things just started to click together. And from that point on, I couldn't get enough information about life and how this all is, and spirituality and meditation, and read book after book and found a meditation path, which led me to I would say it led me to yoga. And actually, it goes further than that. Leaving my body one night spontaneously, okay, led me to finding a yoga teacher and through my psychologist, and taking yoga classes led me to the meditation class, meditation path. And that, after about 2.5 years of that, I found my body getting really, really sick, and went to doctors and hospitals, and they couldn't find anything wrong. And my yoga teacher, I knew my body needed something. I'd never had a massage in my life in my 30s. I didn't even know what it was really. I just had heard of it. And my yoga teacher had taken a Reiki class, which her husband told me about one morning at a breakfast with a bunch of guys. And I asked him what it was. He said, I don't know, but it felt good. So I called Jen up and said, what's this Reiki stuff? And she said, well, what? She says, I need somebody to practice on. So why don't I give you 4 treatments over a period of a week? At the end of the first treatment, I felt so absolutely divinely wonderful, peaceful, more so than I had in 2.5 years of meditation. And my first words were, I want to die like this. It was like, this is beautiful. And I've been able to be with 12 or more people when they have passed, helping them through that, so they leave in what I was experiencing or even better at that time. And then another thing with my body led me to knowing I needed movement. So I found a Tai Chi teacher and started taking Tai Chi, and basically gave up yoga for Tai Chi because Tai Chi was a lot easier and more fun. And learned maybe a dozen Tai Chi and Qigong forms after sticking with the first one for many, many years. And the only reason I expanded out of that because I had a student come up to me at the end of one class. He says, is this all there is? And it's like, well, you don't need a whole lot of forms because there's certain principles involved of just shifting the weight back and forth, which is really what's stimulating the energy through our body. It's just the weight shift. And all of the hand movements and things you see are literally just shaping the energy, and they make it fun. So you can literally just sit there and rock back and forth, back and forth, back and forth, and basically get the same benefits, but it's not as fun. And it doesn't engage the memory as much as learning different forms and different movements. And so I
got a question for you. So, listening to you talk, being an ordained minister, and then going into all of these other modalities. So first off, fasting before prayer is like a biblical thing that they talk about a lot, and it actually helps you draw closer and get the impurities out of your body before you reach to God. So I completely understand that. And as conservative people who are also very much into God, a lot of Christians, when they start hearing about yoga and Reiki and Qigong and this kind of stuff, they don't understand how that wraps into their Christianity. So, because a lot of times they see these things as not good. And so an outside influence. And even in the book of Exodus, it's like one of the major characters in the book was killed because he brought something into the temple of God that wasn't of his. And so some of these thoughts and things, how does an ordained minister get into Reiki, which I'm also Reiki certified. I understand that I'm an energetic healer. I do a lot of that stuff. And I don't have a problem with it necessarily,
gap, right?
But so many people out there, like, they see this, and if they're Christian conservative kind of mindset, then they're all like, this stuff doesn't work, or that this stuff doesn't fit with my religion. How do we help parents realize that this is actually these energy modalities, they don't interfere with the religion, and they can actually help bring people back into their bodies, into a soul-centered way of living, back into life, and take them out of, you know, the false identities of this life. It's like, we are not students, we are not workers, you know, we are more than our jobs, we are more than our grades. And this brings us back. How do you help people bridge that and bring that in?
You know, it's really through experience and actually experiencing that divine connection within ourselves as a feeling in our bodies as ourselves. And I'm like you, Herb, you know, it's like when I found the meditation path, it was an Eastern meditation path. I ended up walking into a room with incense burning and a chair with a picture in a chair and people bowing to a chair. And I'm going, what have I gotten myself into? You know, it's like, all I remembered was walking the streets of LA when I went to help my grandfather in his newspaper and seeing the Hare Krishnas out on the corner. And it's like, what is this? And there's a statement in Indian scriptures that says, when you call out to find God, like I did, God leads you to a guru, and a guru leads you to finding out you are God. You are that connection. You are that divinity. And that's what Christ is teaching us. You know, all throughout the Bible, you will do greater things than I will do. We are one. Christ embodied a teaching that thousands and thousands of teachers on this planet have embodied of different traditions. You know, I was as a CPA, I was doing books for a Chinese guy one time. And after doing his books, he says, come up to my room. So we go up to his room, and he just had bookshelves of bookshelves on teachings of Christ. And he started talking to me and everything. And I looked at him, I said, you're Chinese. And he actually told me, he says, all my friends in China, they know go to God. They know go to God. They know Christ. They don't know Christ. They don't go to God. You know, it's like, no, God put different teachers in different places for different cultures. And one of the greatest books I ever read was a book called How Great Beings Die, or How They Leave This Earth or something. And it's really fantastic because it gives just short sentences or paragraphs about the last days of enlightened masters like Christ and how they spent their last couple of days and the embodiment of their teachings. And all different cultures, all different countries, men, women. So those are things that helped me bridge the gap. And what helped me bridge the gap more than anything was like Reiki. When I said I felt like I wanted to die that way, I've never felt that peaceful, that loving before. And that's what Reiki is. It's magical. I mean, I'm still amazed by it. Literally amazed by Reiki. When I first started taking Reiki, and I put my hands on somebody, and you're sitting there basically doing nothing, except once you've been initiated, the energy flows through you automatically. And it's that energy that runs all of life. And you just kind of question, God, I'm just holding my hands on somebody. And like Jana did to me, amazing things took place. And I would see transformations in people like I saw in myself. And I also found that I could call in the blessings of Christ. If I wanted Christ to come through me, I could feel Christ. I remember one time that in my life, I just wanted to know what the compassion of Mother Mary felt like. Not hearing about it, I want to know what it felt like. And shortly after that, I'm starting a Reiki treatment. All of a sudden, it's like I became Mother Mary. I felt that energy the entire treatment. It became part of me. Yeah, so it's like you do it by learning, and the same with Tai Chi. You're sitting there doing movements. After you learn the movements, you learn to focus below your navel, which is the feminine power center and the overall power center of the body. It's like our fulcrum point. So I can focus below my navel, and I've taught children this, and they are powerful. You know, you can't throw somebody focused there, you can't throw them off of balance. You could put all your weight on them trying to knock them off. You can't move them. I did that with a lady in my Tai Chi class one time. She was in her 80s. She came into class every day on a cane. She had to do most of her movements sitting in the chair. And after class one day, I did a little demonstration with her and had her put the cane down, had her put her hands behind her back, and doing a few, getting her to focus. Not focused, I could knock her off. I mean, just a little touch, she would fall over. I got her to where she could focus below her navel. I could stand behind her, put my full weight on her body with her hands in her back, trying to push her and move her over. She wouldn't move. She was as solid as a rock. And the crazy thing is, she didn't feel it. She was so used to the way she was used to living life and falling and stumbling, she couldn't even feel the difference. The whole class watched, but she was so disconnected from her body that she couldn't feel it. So as we do these movements, and the younger we can start them, we start reconnecting with our body and the power in our body and how our body's actually feeling. Yeah, it's magic to me. It's still magic to me. And that's kind of how I've integrated all this, by stumbling along and learning. And it's like, oh, this is leading me here, this is leading me here. And each thing kind of like opened up my mind to accepting different things because my experience was telling me something otherwise. Like when I
So
first started.
there's one thing in that I would like to comment on, because it comes into something that's kind of powerful for me, and also again for it kind of triggers a lot of people in the Christian community when you said that we are all God, that I am God, that you're God, that we're all God. And there is a beautiful small poem that I use and I recite a lot, and that goes, love is knowing I am everything, and wisdom is knowing I am nothing, and between the two my life flows. Now, every once in a while, I remember the guy's name, but it's a really long name and it's really hard to pronounce. And so I don't want to butcher it, but if you look that up, you can find out who said that.
Timothy might know.
And I changed that into so many different things, because love is knowing that I am God, that I am a child of God, that I'm created in God's image. That is love. Wisdom is knowing that I'm not God. Okay. So when you say that we are all God, that's the love aspect of it. But you're not saying that we're all God, because wisdom is knowing that we are not God, that we don't have that. It's like a drop of blood in us has our DNA. It has all of the information that makes up me, but a drop of blood is not me. But a drop of blood is me, but it's not me. So that knowing that I'm a child of God, knowing that I am created in the image of God, that is love. And that is so important for people to realize. But you also have to realize that you're not God, and that there's a lot of work that you have to do, because that is a perfection. So I just kind of wanted to bring that in.
there is a lot of work to do to get to that point, but I will say Christ was at that point. A lot of other beings are at that point. A lot of beings walking the planet today are at that point. I kind of wonder why they're not doing more to
More good, right?
Well, they're doing good. There's parts of this game that I don't get, but we can all get to that point where there really is no difference between what we can do and what God can do. But I can't tell you that on a grand scale, because I mean, if I look at the cosmos and life and the galaxies and how all of this can possibly be sustained and harmoniously and flowing with God as me, God as you, God as Christine, simultaneously as everybody and everything, like you said, and as nothing, But Swami Muktananda, who wrote The Play of Consciousness, is one of the few people that actually talks about his vision of God as a small egg-like being inside. And that's what he got to. I was listening to another lady, particularly, Maureen Moss, and she was saying how in the past couple of months, she's actually experienced the God particles, as she calls it, within her. So all I can say is, man, by doing these practices, we get to that point. We experience wonders that we just can't even imagine. It's like I go to bed every night, kind of like you were saying, Herb. I go to bed and sometimes it's like I just turn into particles of golden light, and sometimes, it's like I'm gone into nothing. And sometimes the other night I went to bed and all of a sudden my whole being, as I'm breathing in, I'm finding myself saying, thank you. As I'm breathing out, I was saying God, not my mind. Okay, it was like my entire being was just breathing in, thank you, breathing out, God. And that's not something I planned to do. It's just like it was coming out of me, inside of me. So I'm amazed at every day at little things like that are really huge things that just keep transforming me from the inside.
And so as we teach our children this, what is the benefit to teaching our children to actually start picking up these practices as adults, to bringing this into our family? Because, a lot of people, like, they'll read the Bible and they'll pray and they'll do these things as a family. How does doing Reiki, Qigong, meditation, how does this help us individually as children, as teenagers, as adults? How does this bring the family help?
Okay, I will give experientially, I will say that if somebody asked me all of that when I started this path and told me what I'd have to do to get to where I'm at now, I wouldn't have done it. I say, sorry, I'm not doing this. But I can tell people from experience now that my mind only thinks when I want it to think. So my mind's not cluttered. My mind's not worried. My mind's not anxious. I'm not concerned about anything. My mind is like totally peaceful and quiet. I've gained control of my mind literally just by repeating mantras, focusing, being aware, and focusing on Tai Chi, focusing below my belly. And sitting meditations, but it's all calmed my mind. And I believe my calm mind has allowed the 240 some children's stories to come in. It's like, because it's not cluttered with all this other stuff. Right. It's just like an open receptacle. And physically, I'm 73 years old. I am more flexible than I was when I was 25. I have no pain in my body. I am on no medications.
And that's rare these days. That is very rare these days.
So I know this stuff works because we're actually accessing God's energy. We're accessing the energy that's keeping all of this running together. Buddha had a saying that's kind of paraphrased like, he who keeps his attention in the soles of his feet will cure 1,000 illnesses. And I believe what he was saying was, when we keep our mind in our soles of our feet, our mind is energy. We're actually pulling all of our energy, all of our consciousness, all of God's energy and consciousness down in through our body into the soles of our feet. So our whole body is getting that shower of God energy. And you don't have to do anything, just have to focus in the soles of your feet instead of, we have 28,000 thoughts a day. 28,000.
That's a lot.
How many of those do we use that are positive? How many of those do we use that we're focused inside? How many do we use that are focused on God? So the dogs agree.
That's right. Oh. Well, and I would like to just kind of point out there, it's like, think about this. If you have a child who is constantly on the go, and we can put all sorts of labels on them, but let's not label anybody. Let's just say they're constantly on the go. what kind of benefit would it be for them if they were able to do a practice, do something that would calm them and help them center? Because then when they don't understand how to control all that stuff, but they're able to get centered, then they're not going to feel so many of the feelings that they have of non-confidence, or, oh, I'm a bother, or, oh, I can't sit still, or, oh, I can't learn because this is so crazy for me. And if they can refocus, like you were just saying, and calm the mind, and then hopefully maybe even calm the body a little bit, what would that do for your child in learning, in connections, communication, all of
Right.
these things? Now, a few words about vibrant family education.
How many entrepreneurs and business owners start out on this journey to make a better life for their family, only to find that it took so much more time and effort than they were expecting that they had even less time for their family? I know I did.
At Vibrant Family Education, we want to help you reach your family goals while you're still building towards your business goals. We do this by bringing you the third leg of the stool to keep your family upright, family education development.
By bringing your children's education home, you will be able to model your work ethic and family values as you overcome obstacles and challenges to build your business. Instead of learning facts to pass tests, your children can be watching and seeing the dedication it takes to build your business and the legacy you want to create for their future. They will be able to witness the struggles and joys, the wins and the losses, and learn from you how to persevere and grow in life.
Instead of waiting until you get successful to spend more time with your family, start with the end goal in mind and bring your family home. Instead of trying to repair your family after you reach success, let us help you start achieving your family goals from the outset. Learn to be successful with your family now, and no matter what happens in the future, they will be better prepared for life, especially after watching how you cared for and built not only a business, but a healthy, happy, and successful family.
We offer a wide range of educational services, including how to easily get started with homeschooling. Come visit us at vibrantfamilyeducation.com and let us show you how. And now, back to our guest.
And it's not just refocusing. Again,
Yeah.
that energy that we're pulling into our body through that refocus, through that focused movement,
Yeah.
is the intelligence of the universe. So it can rewire our bodies and our minds. So those things that are out of balance that we think can't be fixed,
Yeah.
okay,
Exactly.
they can be fixed. I know some people who work with children with autism, and they've shown that when they do my Power Animal Frolics program and practice, that all disappears.
Mm-hmm.
It's gone.
Yeah.
I used to do Reiki. I used to teach Tai Chi to a group of people with Parkinson's.
Mm-hmm.
While they were doing the movements, there was no shaking.
They were steady. Oh, wow.
They were steady. When I had somebody with Parkinson's on a table giving them Reiki, there were no movements. None.
Yeah.
Zero.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's magic. So it can, I had a, a child that said, when I sit for a test and I don't know the answer and I find myself getting worried, I literally remember the Tai Chi. I focus below my navel. I take a few deep breaths. The mind calms, and suddenly the answer's there. It's like the material's there, but when you panic because you say, "Oh, I don't know the answer to this," then you're not going to find the answer. But since you studied, you calm the mind, and the answer comes.
And
yeah. So the mental benefits, physical benefits, emotional benefits, because we learn that we're in control of our emotions.
Mm-hmm.
And we learn that we feel so wonderful just being able, like, I can focus below my navel and I can laugh for 7 to 8 hours at a time, and I turn purple. I turn colors of reds and orange. It's
so
just
much laughing.
it's just laughter from focusing inside myself.
Mm-hmm.
So when we learn that we have that power, we can be alone. We learn we have a power and can control things that we didn't think we could control. Yeah. So And Tai Chi movements are fun. One of my stories on pandas, it's about the growth of a panda from birth, but part of that in there is an exercise where mama panda teaches baby panda how to handle his temper tantrum.
Yeah.
So you can use some Qigong movements that literally, like picking up your foot and stomping it down one time, and one you'll be focused temper
Right.
tantrum.
Exactly. Yeah. I mean, what a gift for our kids, right? Because whenever they're feeling so out of control, to be able to show them a way to gain control and feel better about themselves. I mean, that would solve a lot of issues in our families and with our children right now. So instead of
Yeah.
handing them a device or, getting upset with them or whatever, it's like, what if the whole family knew these? It's like, awesome, let's all take a break and go do some movement together, or let's all sit down and relax and meditate for a few minutes together.
Seriously, and it doesn't take long. If a family spent 5 minutes, 7 minutes in the morning, 7 minutes at night meditating together, if they spent 5 minutes or 7 minutes just doing a Tai Chi movement together and flowing together, that would shift so much. And, I don't know how much time we have, but I wanted to take this to teenagers for a minute, because teenagers, all of a sudden you've got body energy surging, you've got hormones surging.
Yes.
And at 15, you've got a development in your prefrontal lobe where
Yes.
the energy is going crazy and there's a mind blowout. So you've got physical energies, you've got brain energies. And that brain stimulation stimulates you to wanting to ascend, to know more, to know what life is about. And this physical energy, this sexual energy, is the next to anger. It's about the closest energy you can get to God. It is powerful. But we don't teach our teens how to use that power.
No.
And if you don't know how to use that power constructively, you start using it destructively, because you know that you're supposed to feel good. We all know we're supposed to feel good. Our bodies, we can feel every cell of our body vibrating like 1,000 suns. That's normal. If we're not feeling that on demand, we're not normal. We can literally feel that vibration in every cell. And that's what teenagers go looking for when they don't find it through spiritual practices, like we're talking about, through cultivating that energy. They go looking for it in temporary highs that end up crashing.
Things that aren't healthy for them, right? Yeah. And
Exactly.
it goes in my head when I start talking about, whenever we use labels in our society, right? It's the terrible twos. Our 2-year-olds are going to be just like little terrors, right? And then the horrible teens or the frustrated teens or whatever we want to call them, right? It's like, does it really have to be like that? Do those labels have to be true? I know there's body changes. I know there's mind changes. There are things that are going to be off, but they don't have to be these horrible teens that like yell at their parents all the time or lock themselves in their room. If we have started some of these practices and some of these things that help them understand when they were younger. Yeah.
And if we teach them, Joseph Chilton Pearce, who was one of the most foremost experts on human development, and Ken Wilber, who's this amazing visionary, they said, and this was a while ago, they said this, they said fewer and fewer children are getting what they need at each stage of development to get to the next stage of development with what they should have.
Yeah.
And it's getting to be fewer and fewer. The thing that everybody, like for me, I was 19 years old. I was sitting in a drive-in movie theater with my future wife. And I had this realization that I should not get married, that there was another path for me. I didn't know what that path was. And so I ended up going down the married route, what I saw my parents do, my grandparents do.
Right. Yeah.
But at 15, between 15 and 19, everybody has an awakening moment where they realize we're something more. But most societies anymore don't let people know that and how to find it. So in ancient India, that's when parents gave their children to a guru to develop that spiritual connection. And if you have that, once you start getting, and that's what's happened to all of us as adults, we start connecting to that spirituality in whatever form, yoga, tai chi, meditation, dance, being out in nature, whatever connects us back in. And that can harmonize all of the building blocks that weren't put into place before.
Yeah.
If we can start doing that. So that's what I want to give teenagers. I want to give teenagers the ability to not only have all of that embodied within them by the time they're 18, but they can also teach it and take it out into the world. And I was just thinking today, the world our teenagers are moving into is not the world we moved into as teenagers.
No.
And, I even look at AI, it's like things, jobs are just going to be gone, whether it's mechanical jobs, whether it's jobs writing. I mean, I look on the internet and say, hey, publish a book publish a book every day, write a book in every day and get it on Amazon. It's like, just press a button and let AI do it for you. There's no creativity there. There's no imagination there. But that's what the world's coming down to, where the things that we used to do as human beings, and especially teenagers going into the workforce, those jobs aren't going to be there. But what I've put together is always going to be needed. People are always going to need to learn how to turn inside, always going to need to know how to do yoga, tai chi, meditation, guided imagery. And they can go out into the world and have a vocation and teach that. So their AI can never replace them, ever.
I love that. Yeah. So what is something that a family can just do simply? Can you describe an action of movement? Can you give them one or two things that they can just get started with today as they're exploring this option of Tai Chi or yoga or meditation? What's something they can just get started
Yeah,
with?
where would you start? Where do you start with families now?
The simplest thing they can do is just take time, again, 5 minutes in the morning, 5 minutes at night, and just sit together and breathe.
Okay. And everybody can do that. Everybody can breathe.
Yeah, and focus their mind on their breath, because the mind's going to wander.
Mm-hmm.
I started meditating. I was a CPA. I was very busy. My mind was not into meditation. That was all new to me. I set a kitchen timer clock for 2.5 minutes. That's what I allowed myself. I'll give this a try, 2.5 minutes. And then after a week, I went to 5 minutes and I started feeling better. So I went to 10 minutes and then I went to 15 minutes, eventually much, much longer.
Mm-hmm.
But you just start and you watch your breath, you watch your mind, you don't pay attention to thoughts, you don't follow the thoughts, you don't think about them.
Yeah.
Just like clouds floating by. So 5 minutes doing that. And a real simple Tai Chi practice is standing with your feet shoulder width apart and just gently rocking back and forth. And as you rock back, you can lift your arms up to your shoulders.
Uh-huh.
As you rock forward, as you rock back, you can bring them down just slightly behind your legs and just rock back and forth, lifting your arms up slowly and back down. And 2 or 3 minutes of doing that together harmonizes things really quickly. Even bringing our hands to our hearts for a few minutes, okay, we don't even need 5 minutes, okay?
Yeah.
Right before dinner, right before a meal together, right after. Let's just bring our hands to our hearts, close our eyes and breathe into our hearts for a few minutes. And then let's open our eyes and look at each other with love. We don't have to say anything. We're just gonna look at each other's eyes with love. That's it.
And parents, I want you to think about this. Whether your getting your kids out the door for school, or whether you're sitting down for your homeschool lessons, or whatever you're doing when you do this together, what kind of day could you be starting for your child? A calm and relaxed instead of a yelling, hurry up, get out the door, we're late, da 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 da, right? If you build this in and get that relaxed in there, oh, go sit down, time to do our lesson, just think about how you could change somebody's day or relax them in the evening after they get home.
Yeah.
You know, as you're
And
saying-
about the meditation aspect of it, if your mind does go crazy, if you start sitting there for a couple of minutes and your mind just starts taking off, that's also normal. And so instead of like following the thoughts, just notice that, hey, wow, my mind really doesn't like this. And as you do that, then that can also start to calm down. So you can't get meditation wrong. If your mind just goes off, then it's like notice that. It's like notice that you're not comfortable there, and work on the breath and following the breath, and just notice what your mind's trying to do as well. Now, younger children usually have an easier time of this because they don't necessarily have as many thoughts and patterns and think, oh, this isn't working. Oh,
Their
this
whole
is
to-do
weird.
list for the day.
So, there was a long time where I thought I had to find that super calmness. I thought I had to find that unity. And so I thought I was doing meditation wrong for years. And then one day I like dropped into this space and was like, oh, that's what they're talking about. And then when I couldn't, I got frustrated. And then I started realizing that frustration, that following that thought, that's also part of it as well. So it's not always this wonderful, joyful, peaceful place. Sometimes it's very chaotic and uncomfortable. And what you need to do is sit there in that and notice that, wow, this is uncomfortable, because that's also part of life. That's also part of you. And it's in a way, it's taming the mind. It's not letting the mind control you. So sitting there quietly while your mind is going absolutely crazy is also very, very powerful. So you can't do it wrong. And
that's one of the benefits too, Herb, of doing Tai Chi movements, because you're actually moving while you're focusing the body. So you're not having, like for children, you don't have to sit still.
Yeah.
You can focus the mind while you're moving. And, we've got to realize, we're not taught. It's like you say, our mind has been controlling things for a long time. And there's no part of us that likes to give up control of anything. So you've got this mind, which, think about it, people, your mind's invisible. You got a brain. It's a computer-like entity. It's not your mind. Your mind is invisible. You are letting an invisible part of you that is functional, and you do need it for certain things, but you don't need it ruling your body.
Right.
So you've got something above your mind that can take control of things. You want to call it a soul, you want to call it whatever you want to call it. There's a part of you that can control your mind, that can control your body. So I was waking up, that space when you're just waking up in the morning and you're kind of here and not here.
Yeah.
So as I was in that space one morning, I literally started watching my mind plan out my whole day. I mean, it's like the part of me that sees, the part of us that watches our dreams. So this part of me is watching my mind plan my whole day. And at that moment, I just said, what the? It's like, no, this has got to shift. It's like, I can't have my whole day planned out before I'm even out of bed. I mean, that's what happens to a lot of us. We're on rote.
Yep.
Our mind's just going, and we don't realize that every time we go to bed, we have the opportunity to wake up in the morning as a completely new person.
yeah. Another way to think about it is, have you ever found out that you were incorrect about something? Or there was a situation that happened and you thought that situation was this, and then you got more information and you found out that it wasn't anything like what you thought it was, okay? Your mind thinks that everything that it thinks is correct and true and is the way things are should be. And that's not necessarily true. So this thing that can be wrong, this thing that runs, that most people think, oh, that mind also starts to become that I. So that not like the I, but like the I am this, I am that, the I, that comes from part of the mind. And so that part of the mind can be wrong. And so, you know, taking control away from that and settling down and letting that let go at times, because it's not always right. You don't always know, and sometimes you're wrong. And so the mind having that level of control when it can be wrong isn't always necessarily healthy for you either. So
And that's how
a lot of this training is to calm that aspect of you down so that you can be alive and not be for a while your mind.
Yeah, and not controlled by what society has put up in our mind, what are the bad things our parents put up in our mind, the things that aren't beneficial to us, the things our peers that we've absorbed into our mind. So, you know, it's really about just getting rid of all of that stuff that doesn't serve us to find out who we really are. You know, what do I really like? If I wasn't influenced by anything, you know, I like to imagine sometimes, God, what would have happened if I was born in the Philippines? You know, it's like my day would be completely different. Things I thought would be completely different. And I actually went for a period of 2 weeks with every thought that I had, every thought my mind had. I said, how do you know? How do you know? How do you know? Prove it to me. How do you know? And that helped calm my mind down. You know, it's like, yeah, I'm going to challenge you. How do you know that? And it comes back to that nothingness, Herb. It's like
you guys have had good discussions about the nothing.
Yeah. There's a lot of things that I know that I have no idea how I know them.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of things that I know that are wrong. And so but there's also a lot of really interesting things that I know that are right that I have no idea how I figured all of that out. And so, you know, that doesn't necessarily come from the mind either. It's like that comes through meditation, that comes through an intense search, and the answers arise. You know, it's not that I thought them up, it's that they come from somewhere and they fill me up, and it's like, wow, that just shattered my entire reality of the universe. And it's like, here I am driving around out in the middle of nowhere, and it's like I just had a thought that could change like civilization itself. And it's like, wow, that was fun, that was interesting. Now what do I do with that? And I go about living my life.
And I think when we get inspirations like that, we can send that out into the universe and say, man, make that happen somehow. You know, it's like, if I'm picking up on this, it's out there. Let's make that happen. And, you know, I had 2 people really close to me develop my websites way back when I started. And they both screwed me over in different ways.
Oh, no.
Okay? Yeah. And finally, I decided I'm going to develop my own website. I knew nothing about it. And I found somebody who knew WordPress. I never heard of WordPress. And man, you do not want to develop a WordPress site on your own. So I was glad to have this expert who literally, after he said he would help me through every step, the way he helped me, I think Dr. L in Role Model Makers was talking about this the other day.
Yeah.
The way he helped me was by not answering one phone call I gave him or one email. Seriously.
Oh my gosh.
And I had to literally just get quiet and intuit what to do. And it took me a long time. It took me years to build the website, but I was able to get that information to do it myself. And living here in Spain, yeah, they changed the laws here. You know, it's like they just told us a few days ago, like 2 days before the new law went into effect. These are the new laws that you have to put into effect when you have renters and the information you have to get them. And you have to go to a new government website and set all of this information up within 2 days.
Oh my goodness. Wow.
And I thought it was great because Marianne brought home a little brochure with a company that was in English, and they said they'd do it for you. They wouldn't approve her passport, seeing it online. They said, we can't verify your passport. So again, I'm sitting here, and the first time that I tried to do this, I mean, I got so frustrated. It was late at night, and it was like trying to go to Google Translate, put the Spanish in, try to figure out what they want, 3 different programs to download, and it was nothing. This morning I looked at my wife and said, I'm going to give this one more shot.
Mhm.
And I literally just sat down at the computer calmly,
Yes.
and I
Calmly.
did a few things into Google Translate. I tried to follow what I did,
Yeah.
and amazingly enough, we got all the paperwork she needed to go get an approval in town tomorrow and then go from there.
Yeah. Wow.
So we
Amazing.
have that ability when we're just not, what are they doing with these new rules? And my company, this company is just not paying attention. And what is this?
Right. Exactly. Oh my goodness. All right, families, have you been listening? You can do this. You can help your
Yes.
body, help your child, help your family calm, meditate, relax, whatever you want to call it. Connect with the higher divine if that's what you wish. Connect with your inner self, but do something to help calm the mind and not let us run around like crazy. So, if anything we've talked about today connects with you and you want to find out more, Mr. Timothy, would you please tell them how to get a hold of you so they can maybe explore some of your wonderful programs further?
They can reach me via the chat window at the website at www.timothystutz.com down in the window there. And Timothy at timothystutz.com will get you into my email. I hate to put that out on the airwaves, but I will.
Yeah, exactly. And of course, everything will be down in the show notes below. So you can just click on the link down there as well. Make it easy for everybody, right?
Yeah, and I really believe this can be so simple. And I went the hard way, and by me going the hard and long way, like a lot of us have, we learned the shortcuts and the easy ways so that the people following us
Yes,
don't have to do the hard stuff. They can do the simple stuff. You know,
exactly.
I'm even trying to teach myself right now that I don't have to do all the things that I've been practicing anymore.
Mhm.
So I'm trying to let go of practices even. It's like I know there's enlightened beings walking this planet that don't do the practices I do, so I don't necessarily have to do those practices. There's other ways to live that total beingness that we are.
Awesome. All right.
Well, I'm still walking the hard path. I kind of chose it. I damaged my brain. I gave myself a traumatic brain injury, or actually a series of traumatic brain injuries. So this stuff works, and I had it, and then I hurt myself, and I lost it, and I'm trying to bring it back. And so I'm walking that hard path again, and it's okay. It's part of life, and that's a really interesting thing that it's helping me still be present, be alive, be okay, even though things aren't always necessarily working out how I want them to be. So thank you very much, Timothy, for coming today, for reminding us of that. Thank you for helping families and for helping children, and to bringing these stories and these ideas and these modalities to people of a younger age so that they can have these tools in their life, so that when they get to a point when they're older and they need them, instead of having to learn and get the foundations, then they actually have the foundations, and those foundations planted as seeds have a stronger root and a way to grow. So thank you very much for being here. Thank you for helping the children. Thank you for helping the adults. And it's been a pleasure talking with you again.
Oh, thank you. And thank both of you for the paths you are walking and the learnings along the way, because your ups and downs are helping lots of people. Like I just listened to you in the morning, a lot of mornings, Herb, when you're talking about your day, and I learned things. It's like there's some inspirations in there. And so I just wrote a story. It's called Upsy Downsy Unity.
Mhm.
And so we do. We have these ups, we have these downs, and somehow they're all coming together in unity to help ourselves and help other people. So
Well,
Thank you so much.
Thank you very much.
All right,
Um,
audience, it has been wonderful. Thank you so much for joining us today. Thank you, Timothy, for being here. And families, don't forget, if you're ready to make a change, if you're ready to do something different, follow the podcast, listen into some of these experts, come check us out. We're here for helping families as well. We're ready to help your child be happy, healthy, and successful. So until next time, bye for now.
Bye for now.
I
Hello and welcome to Bringing Education Home. I'm Herb.
And I'm Christina, and together we bring you experts